Okay, so your Chapter 3 exam on Malaysian public administration is literally 2 days away. Take a deep breath. Seriously, do not panic. I know you've got those 6 major study guide questions just glaring at you right now, but today we're going to synthesize every single one of them into a super clean, easy-to-remember format. Think of this explainer as your hyper-efficient masterclass. We're going to lock this whole shebang into your brain well before test day. Let's do this. To dial down that exam anxiety, we've organized your study guide into 4 really predictable buckets. We'll look at the role of district officers, then federal and state control, dive into decentralization concepts, and wrap up with devolution versus deconcentration.
All right, Section 1, the role of district officers.
This one right here directly tackles question 1 from your study guide. Now, to really nail this, you need a tiny bit of context. You see, before World War II, a district officer, or DO, kind of just handled land revenue and judicial stuff. But post-independence, total game changer. They evolved into the absolutely crucial representative of the state government at the district level. Basically, they became the ultimate coordinator on the ground. For the exam, I want you to lean hard into the rule of 4s to memorize their specific roles. First up, they manage land matters. We're talking collecting quit rent, processing applications, even acting as a second-class magistrate. Second, they supervise and coordinate development. They're the ones making sure different departments actually talk to each other so you get proper roads and drainage. Third, they're the essential liaison. If locals need flood mitigation, the DO channels that request straight up to the state. And fourth, they implement government policies right at the grassroots, like rallying the community for poverty eradication programs. Boom! Lock in those 4 points and question 1 is totally in the bag.
Moving right along to Section 2, federal and state control over local government.
Okay, this covers question 2 on your prep list. And honestly, here's the trick to this one. Local government is the 3rd level of government in Malaysia, right? But it's not completely independent. Under the federal constitution, local government is actually placed on the state list. That means both the state and federal governments have their hands on the steering wheel. They just drive in totally different ways.
The contrast here is super fascinating. Federal control is entirely indirect. It's all about uniformity across the country. They use the National Council for Local Government and the ministry to create broad national guidelines for stuff like waste management. But state control? That is direct. Through laws like the Local Government Act of 1976, the state holds the actual purse strings. They approve the budgets, they draw the municipal boundaries, and they control the assessment tax rates. So think of it like this. The federal government guides, but the state government commands.
All right, Section 3, decentralization concepts and purposes.
We are now checking off question 4 on your exam guide. At its core, decentralization is just the transfer of power from higher levels of government down to lower ones. But, why do it? Why not just have the federal government run every single little thing?
Well, remember these 4 distinct purposes. First, it fundamentally reduces the central government's burden. It lets local councils handle the trash collection so the federal level can focus on, say, national defense. Because of that, second point, it naturally speeds up decision-making. A local authority can clear flooded drains right away without waiting weeks for a permission letter from the capital. Third, it encourages initiative to meet specific local needs. A rural area like Kota Belud is going to prioritize agriculture, while an urban hub like PJ is obsessed with traffic management, right? And finally, fourth, it promotes political participation. It gives everyday citizens a real voice in their own backyards, which really strengthens grassroots democracy.
And now, Section 4, devolution versus deconcentration.
This is the big one, guys.
Pay close attention because this perfectly combines questions 3, 5, and 6 all at once. So decentralization in Malaysia basically comes in 2 distinct flavors. Flavor number 1 is devolution. This is true local empowerment. Devolution is the transfer of formal powers via an act of parliament to legally established, autonomous local authorities. The absolute magic word here is autonomy. For example, a city council, like Majlis Bandaraya Shah Alam, has the legal autonomy to collect its own assessment taxes and then actually use that money to fix up its own local parks and roads.
Now, contrast that immediately with the second flavor, deconcentration. This is just the delegation of authority to local officers or agencies. The key difference? They do not have autonomy. Think back to our district officer from question 1, or maybe the local branches of the health department. They are literally just the arms and legs of the state or federal government. They execute instructions on the ground, but without any independent financial or administrative freedom.
So the make or break point for your exam is understanding exactly how these two concepts differ. This targets question 5, and frankly, it's the heaviest part of the test. You've got to memorize 4 distinct differences. Let's break them down side by side.
Difference number 1, autonomy. Like we just said, devolution means having the actual power to manage your own personnel and collect your own revenue, taxes, license fees, you name it. Deconcentration, on the other hand, means zero financial independence. Those agencies depend entirely on the budget handed down to them by the state. They can't just randomly decide to hire new staff on their own.
Moving to the second difference, legal status. Under devolution, a local government is considered a body corporate. It has its own legal identity, it can sign contracts, and it can actually sue or be sued in court. Deconcentrated agencies, though, are mere extensions of the government. So if you wanted to take legal action against a district office, you actually have to sue the state government itself, because legally speaking, the district's office doesn't exist as an independent entity. Crazy, right?
Difference number 3 is policymaking. With devolution, local governments can actually formulate their own local policies, as long as they aren't breaking national laws. They could design a totally new parking system or a custom waste management policy for their city. But under deconcentration, those agencies are strictly implementers. They simply execute the development policies that were already decided by the higher-ups.
And the fourth and final difference is the power to make bylaws. Because entities under devolution have quasi-judicial authority, a municipal council can actually draft its own bylaws to regulate things like hawker licenses or issue parking fines. Deconcentrated agencies absolutely cannot make bylaws. A local health department merely enforces the health regulations that were already written by the federal government.
Okay, look at this screen right now and take a mental screenshot. Seriously, lock this summary matrix into your memory. This is your ultimate cheat sheet for question 5. If you can replicate these 4 differences on your test, autonomy, legal status, policy, and bylaws, you are going to absolutely ace that question. It perfectly synthesizes the core mechanics of how power is actually distributed on the ground.
And just like that, you have conquered the material. We've covered the vital roles of the district officer, the careful balance of federal and state control, the real purposes of bringing government closer to the people, and the critical legal distinctions between devolution and deconcentration. You are fully prepared to walk into that exam in 2 days and completely crush all 6 questions. But as you pack up your notes today, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. As Malaysia continues to rapidly develop, will we see a push for even more devolution to give local cities true independence? Or is strict central control the only way to ensure equality across all the states? Good luck on your exam. You're going to do great.